Well, howdy, howdy. Today, I want to do a little disclaimer at the beginning of this conversation because we might be talking about some medical issues and different things that we have experienced personally. Want to make sure you understand we are not doctors and we're not giving medical advice or talking you into anything. Be sure to check with your own doctor and get your own medical advice and make those decisions for yourself. So just make sure we get that out there at the beginning. So today I'm meeting with Cammie. And actually, so Cammie and I met online, and I think it's been maybe 2 years, year and a half
probably.
or so. So this is actually the first time we've met in person, which is great because, you know, it's fun to meet people. And we're going to talk today about some things. But first, like I always like to do, Cammie, tell us a little bit about yourself, you know, kind of where you grew up, your life, your family, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm pretty boring in where I've lived. I've lived in Utah, all over from West Valley to West Jordan to South Jordan.
All the Jordan.
Yeah, all
in that
all
little
the
circle.
Yep. Been married to my husband. It will be 30 years in July.
Nice.
So,
that's awesome. Congrats.
4 kids. We have a 26-year-old son, twins that are 20. 2 boys, and then my daughter's 15.
Nice.
So 4 kids, 3 dogs. We've got a little bit of a crazy animal family there. And I am just entrepreneur at heart. I've been running my own businesses probably since, 12 years old.
Yep.
Done everything. I have a hair salon in my home, so I do that as well. And then I've just been in the health and wellness space for a while now.
Nice. Very good. Well, that's awesome. So, but I know you travel because I see.
Oh, yes.
I see travel posts.
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure you get out of Utah
Travel is
as well.
my love language. I make money so I can travel.
There you go. Well, that's awesome. Well, very good. Well, today, what we're going to talk about is your journey to where you are today. And we'll show a picture of you from way back when. And we're going to talk about your journey of kind of weight and what that has looked like in your life. I have been following you for a while, watching some things. You and I are kind of on some same wavelengths of different things. But let's talk a little bit about growing up. What was it like for you physically, emotionally? Did you always struggle with weight?
Yeah, I did. Probably big time starting 4th, 5th grade. I remember, in 6th grade, especially, really, that's when I started being teased about my weight. It really got into my head and your self-esteem. And really just starting to focus on that all the time. It became part of who I was, that I just struggled with my weight. I remember in junior high, I knew I didn't understand how to lose weight. I knew I needed to lose weight, but, no one ever had that conversation with me about like how to lose weight. So I remember in junior high, I, for 2 years, I think, had a Diet Coke for lunch. And, thought that if I was hungry all the time that I could lose weight. Of course, that didn't work because then I'd go home and eat. And, didn't understand that even if you were hungry for 4 hours, if you made up for it later, that wouldn't work. But, just a lot of confusion around it. My parents weren't overweight. And so it wasn't, something that was in my family that I understood. And back in the 90s, it was all low fat and then, low sugar and all of the crazy diets that we went through. But I never really was able to get a hold of it until 15. So when I was 15, my parents asked if I wanted to join Weight Watchers, and I did. And I lost 60 pounds at 15.
Wow.
So that was the first time I really felt good in my body that I can remember. And of course, my confidence skyrocketed. I was a junior in high school. And so I was dating and, boys were looking at me.
Well, that's that age, right?
Right. Yeah. And I kept that off for probably a good 5 or 6 years. And that's when I got married. met my husband. But then the early 20s is when it started creeping right back on.
Mm-hmm. What did you notice? So, even early 20s is pretty, you still can lose weight, in the early 20s, right? So what did you notice as far as from 15 losing the weight and then when it started coming back on in your early 20s? What was the change, or what did you notice was going on with yourself?
I really feel like my body has been broken my whole life, and I could never eat what anyone else could eat. And when I say I did Weight Watchers and I kept it off, that sounds great. But what in reality it was is there was some bulimia, and there was, diet pills, and there was starving myself. And there was, so it wasn't just that it stayed off magically and that I just ate normally. And so I think in my early 20s, I got married. I was happy. Yeah. I was cooking for myself.
We call it the happy relationship weight.
Right? Yes.
Right.
And I wasn't going out dancing with my friends all the time. I did get a little bit more stagnant as far as my movement because you're an adult, you have a full-time job, you come home. But I don't feel like I went out like insane. But I definitely, started putting it on and put it on pretty fast. I went from a size maybe 12 when I got married. So I wasn't tiny, but I wasn't overweight to a size 20 in maybe 3 years.
Mm-hmm. So I want to talk about that for a minute, because as we get later on in our conversation, and some of the stuff that I've heard you say, your body, really being in touch with your body was something different for you than somebody else, right? Like, because, we talk about diet, we talk about exercise, we talk about all these things, but sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what's so frustrating, because you always hear, as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you'll lose weight. And we're realizing that really is not true. It's true for the majority of people. But there are very much a group of people who's, just like people that have diabetes or depression or whatever the illness, there are just people who metabolically are broken. And they're starting to really recognize that more. In my early 20s, I actually self-diagnosed myself with polycystic ovarian syndrome. Believe it or not, from a Glamour magazine.
Well, that's the early Google doctor, right?
It was.
Okay.
I remember it was in Glamour, and it talked about this new thing that they were finding in women called polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, and I had every single check mark. Like, it was describing my life. And I took my magazine to my OBGYN, and I was like, I have this. And she'd never heard of it. And of course, now, like, hundreds of thousands of people have been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, but she'd never heard of it.
So what was that causing in your body?
Well, I didn't start my cycles until I was 17.
Okay, that's late. That's definitely late for a woman.
And then even at that, I would maybe twice a year.
Oh, okay.
So I had infertility problems with all 4 of my kids. I don't think I ever ovulated on my own in my entire life.
Oh, okay.
Because I would do ovulation kits, and so my oldest son was Clomid. My twins were insemination. And
so Clomid, was that an infertility?
Clomid is an infertility drug. It's just like the pills. So it's kind of like the entry level. But then with my twins, we had to do in utero insemination. And then with my daughter, we did IVF. Okay. So each pregnancy went up in complications in how hard we had to work to get there.
Well, and your ovaries are so important, right? That's, the hormone regulation and all that other stuff, estrogen, whatever goes on in your body. So if your ovaries aren't working well, that causes some issues there too. Yeah. Okay, very interesting. So what happened after then? Did she diagnose you with that? Did she look it up and say, okay, you're right, you have it? Or was she?
Not for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't right away. We were trying to get pregnant, and like I said, it's when you're not having cycles.
Right.
It's really hard to get pregnant. So that's, when we started the Clomid, started like progesterone shots to bring on. So they were more focusing on the symptoms rather than the cause.
Gotcha.
And ironically kept telling me I needed to lose weight to get pregnant. And I say ironically because each one of my pregnancies, I weighed less and I had to do more infertility than I did before.
Wow.
So obviously that was not the issue. But yeah, we would work on the symptoms, but it took probably another 10 years before it was well known enough that they knew that it was insulin related. And I actually just saw a doctor talking about people that have PCOS do not make GLP-1 and GIP, which is what trizepatide is.
Right.
Which is super interesting.
That is interesting. Okay, so how old were you when you had so we're in your 20s.
Yep.
And we know gastric bypass. So was that pre-children or post having children?
It was after having my son, my first son, but I was 22 years old.
Okay.
So I got I got married at 19. I had my first son at 22, and then later that year, I had him in January, and then I had the gastric bypass in October.
So what led to that decision?
I'm a very jump decision person. Like I don't take a whole lot of time to ingest things. I heard about it. I wanted it. I found a doctor who did it. I went and saw them and he said, if your insurance covers it, and they did. And then they had a cancellation. And from like the time that I heard it to the time that I had it was maybe 3 months.
Okay. Interesting. I want to talk a little bit about the psychology of that. Okay, because let's think about it. That is surgery, right?
Yeah.
Like it's surgery. So let's talk a little bit about where you think your headspace was in the sense of, I have this weight, I've lost this weight, I've got this weight back. Now this is a way to get weight off.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what you were thinking kind of in some of that.
I felt like I was on a speeding train that was going to crash, and I didn't know how to get off. I was 270 pounds at that point. So I'd put on 110 from when I had lost all the weight with Weight Watchers.
Now let's clarify this for a minute.
Yeah.
That's not because you're eating like a package of Oreos every day and stuff, right?
No.
So this is part of the conversation I kind of want to have, because we do get this stigma that people who are heavy, they have no control. They just overeat. If they wouldn't overeat, they would lose the weight. They can reduce their calories, exercise more.
Yep.
And, that's some of what I also want to talk about, because it doesn't serve us well a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
So were you in that kind of headspace?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I like I said, it goes back to I didn't understand. I didn't understand how I could eat the exact same food as my husband, and he could be okay, and I could gain 100 pounds. It never made sense to me. And no doctor, and the doctors didn't even believe me. They're just like, well, you need to eat less carbs. Okay, I'll eat less carbs, but it just, nothing worked. And it was just a desperation of, I don't want to be 300 pounds.
Right.
And it's coming up on 300.
So here's the thing about that, because, that can be a fear for some of us, right? To get really heavy. And I've never been quite that heavy, but the fear has been that puts me in bondage, right? Like I can't do this. I might not be able to bend over and tie my shoe. I have grandchildren. I can't go play with the grandchildren. I can't do all the fun things that I want to do.
Yes.
So how was your life affected when you were reaching that size? Like, what was your life like?
Okay, I will cry, but
we have tissue somewhere.
My defining moment was at Busch Gardens, and we went with my brother and sister-in-law, and me and my sister-in-law, or my sister-in-law and her kid and my brother-in-law and my husband wanted to go on a roller coaster, and I was going to stay with my son because he couldn't go. He was 2. And we waited in line for an hour in the heat, which a 2-year-old, and he kept picking the one that he wanted to ride in. And, We got to the line and I didn't fit. And he couldn't ride without me. So we had to pull him out of that ride. And I had to drag him crying and sobbing away from the ride because Mommy was too big.
Oh.
And he couldn't ride.
Oh, dear.
And that was my, I'm not going to do this moment.
Now, was that pre or post gastric?
That was pre. That was the moment. That was probably when I went home and found the doctor, because this was, I think, July, and I had the surgery in October. And it was, I am not going to live this way, and I don't know any other way to not live this way.
Right. And let's face it, as women, and putting on weight.
Yes.
Because I can remember I had a goiter on my neck, and I can remember going to the doctor. I was struggling. I was like, look, I am fatigued. I'm tired. I'm this. It's like I'm not. This is not who I am.
Yeah.
You know, and but not always being listened to. Oh, your labs are normal. This has come back normal. You know, you're just, you know, and it's almost like it's in your head. Like you are, you know, it's in your head. And it's like, you know, it's not in your head.
Yeah.
Because you can feel it inside, right? That something is off. It's just not fitting right. So that must have been really hard. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure that's really a heart thing. So then you come back, you get the surgery. Let's talk about the surgery itself and then kind of the aftermath of the surgery.
You know, it's so different now because they have like therapy that's required before, and they make you lose some weight before you do it. Okay. They like put you on these pre-diets and they like prepare you. And with me, it was like, I mean, they booked it. I had surgery. This is kind of funny. They booked it and it was like 2 weeks out, and I booked a last minute cruise so that I could like go eat.
Well, you know, I can't blame you, right? I mean, cruises are all, if anybody says they're going to go on a cruise, it's all about eating, right? I mean,
so I pigged out for 4 days on this like 4-day cruise, came back like 12 pounds heavier. I was like, I don't care. It'll be gone soon.
But, you know, that says something about it, too, about how crazy our thinking gets about this sometimes, right? I tell people one of the things that bugs me is like, I wish I could go back to when I didn't think bread was my enemy.
Yeah.
Like, do you know? I mean, like when food wasn't such a, like your nemesis or whatever, because that's kind of what it gets to be. So anyway, okay, go ahead. Talk about coming back from the cruise, getting your surgery.
So there wasn't the mental preparation for it at all.
Okay.
And so it was shocking to come home and they made my stomach this big and I could eat this much food. But I always say they gave me stomach surgery, but they didn't give me brain surgery.
Right.
And it's a real thing. I had what's called Roux-en-Y, which is the most drastic weight loss surgery. So
does it make it smaller or something than the
average? They
average?
actually make your stomach smaller, but they cut your intestines in about 1/8, and they reroute the intestine to the stomach so that your body doesn't absorb all the calories from the food. But that also means it does not absorb the nutrients. In addition to that, and no one can tell me the answer to this, we didn't understand 20 whatever years ago the importance of gut health.
Oh, yeah.
So my gut microbiome, I have no idea. No one can tell me, because my intestine is still in my body, but it's not connected to anything. And the other half of my stomach is still in my body, but it's not connected to anything. And it will like growl. It's actually really embarrassing because every once in a while it just gets churning and it's like, rawr, rawr, rawr.
Because it's a lap band, right?
No,
it's not a lap band.
I did not. They literally cut my They cut like the top 2 inches of your stomach off.
But they leave it in?
Yes. Because that is where so I don't have any stomach acid in my first stomach.
Okay.
So then they reroute your intestines and they connect it to the other half of your stomach that is
I'm sorry,
lower
this is
below.
making me think of cows.
No, it is. It's really weird. And so your stomach goes through like 1/8 of your intestines before it's digested. Okay. I mean, it completely changed everything about my body. I have a card in my wallet because like if I ever had to have my stomach pumped, if they didn't know, they would perforate and kill me.
Oh, wow.
Because like you can't stuff a tube down there.
Right.
And so it was the most drastic. It's not a band. It's not a pouch. It's not any of that stuff. Like my entire insides are different than anyone else's. And yet I can still gain weight pretty easily.
Goodness. Oh my goodness. So you get this surgery, you come home. What was it like day to day from that? Were you prepared enough on the food? That
I am mentally, that is what gets me so much too, is like, I am very disciplined. I mean, you've probably watched me. I build multi-million-dollar companies. Mm-hmm. I know how to do the work. Right. And so if I have something, I am very disciplined. I followed it. I was going to be the freaking poster child for gastric bypass. Uh-huh. And so I did great. I lost 100 pounds in, I think, about 9.5 months, which does a whole thing to your head. But I did great. I struggled with not being able to, you throw up a lot because if you don't chew quite as well, like I said, your food's not digested. Mm-hmm. And so there were problems like I would throw up if one bite. The difference between full and too full is one bite. Oh, okay. So you really have to learn, you have to eat really slow. But, it does teach you, but it teaches you through pain and punishment.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Mm-hmm. It's a very negative way to learn what's right for your body. Mm-hmm. And so it can be really hard on your relationship with food.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just like you talked about bread being the enemy. Well, a lot of things became the enemy because so one of the reasons they route your intestines the way that it is you get what's called dumping syndrome. So if anything with carbohydrates or sugar hits your stomach without protein and things like that, you get violently ill. So, and it's different for everybody. For me, I get really dizzy and just want to curl up and die for about an hour. Yuck. And it's still that way.
I was going to say, it's still that way because nothing has changed physically in your body, right?
Yep.
Like as far as, even though we're further down the road and are doing some other remedies. Wow. How did it affect your family life?
There was some judgment. I didn't tell people. There was some shame around it. I lied about the surgery I was getting to the neighbors and because I was in the hospital for a week. I mean, it's a pretty big surgery.
Yeah.
But I lied about what it was because I didn't want all of my neighbors, oh, she's getting gastric bypass. She's getting weight loss. Yeah, just like there's so much stigma now around the peptides. There was just so much stigma around, the easy way out. And that cracks me up.
How could that be easy?
Right?
I'm thinking that is definitely not easy.
Right? You would hear people, she did gastric bypass. Well, that's like saying she had a C-section and it not being as hard as a vaginal birth. If you've ever had a C-section, it's not easier. Yeah.
Well, you still have to recover and, let's face what that procedure actually does. That's not easy. So
I lied. I remember telling my mother-in-law after the fact because she was saying something about her sister-in-law got it and it was like a negative thing. And I'm like, well, actually, And so I had to get over a lot of that. There's always the people, my neighbor's best friend's sister-in-law had that and died.
Oh gosh, of course. You always hear the stories, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
But I don't regret it. Mm-hmm. People ask me that all the time and I don't because like I said, I was on a speeding truck or train or whatever I said that was going to crash and I didn't know how to get off.
Right.
Nothing that people told me to do was working.
Right.
And I didn't want to be in the place that I was at.
Right. Well, that poignant experience with your son, I mean, that's going to be your driver, right?
Yep.
And as a mom, we want to be there for our kids. And when you have grandkids, I've got grandkids now,
Yep.
I want to be able to get down on the ground with them. I want to and play with them and do those things. So, those motivators are pretty strong in what we do. So you go through this procedure, which I'm just blown away by the intensity of the procedure.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, the lap band or whatever, and you're telling me all this other stuff, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Anyway, so you go through that, you lose the weight, then what?
I kept it off for about 10 years.
Okay.
So again, it's not quite like I easily kept it off for 10 years.
Right.
But I would tell people it put me on a level playing field with the rest of the world is what I felt like.
But physically, because you didn't really have a choice.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes. So I still had to diet. I couldn't eat sweets. I couldn't eat. So I was able to maintain it for the most part. I think I put on like maybe 10 pounds and in like a 10-year period on and off. But I did during that 10 years, I did HCG, which if you remember, that's injecting yourself with pregnant women's urine.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Haven't you? That was a big thing.
Okay.
So
what was that supposed to do? Sorry.
No, so it actually works, but it's crazy.
Okay.
So
it sounds crazy to me. I'm sorry.
So HCG is like a hormone in pregnant women's urine. And what it does is when you're pregnant, your body will naturally break down your fat if you need energy.
Oh, okay.
Because it needs to feed the baby.
Right.
So it's actually easier during pregnancy to lose weight if you're eating that way. So you would eat 500 calories a day, and it was a crazy diet. It was like 2 crackers and like 5 ounces of chicken and an apple every day. But the HCG made you not hungry. And it really was true. It did work. But it was a crazy diet, and you couldn't use lotion because like any additional like fat that went into your body made it not work. But you lost like a pound a day. So you could lose like 20, 25 pounds in a month.
Oh my goodness.
And I did that a couple of times, and you have to get it illegally. I will preface that as well. You can't just buy it. Like you have to, it's actually used in infertility treatments.
Okay.
But you can't, doctors won't prescribe it for weight loss. So you had to it was sketchy getting it, and, went back to Weight Watchers a couple of times. So in that 10-year period, I did maintain a healthy weight, but it wasn't always through
healthy means,
yes,
right? I mean,
yes.
Let's face it, the things that you've done to try and keep that weight off have been, I would say, kind of on the extreme side. I'd never heard of that one.
For sure.
So that's a new one for me, but that's okay. I'm here to learn. So
during that time, I also had my twins, which maintaining a twin pregnancy after gastric bypass was rough. Because
how do you eat? How do you keep the nutrition?
So I basically had to snack all the time.
Okay.
My doctor was like, if you're not eating, you're not doing your job. And for my twin pregnancy, I gained 26 pounds.
All baby. Just about all baby, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And it was really worrisome that I would be able to maintain that. And within 6 weeks, after having them, I weighed less than when I got pregnant. So it definitely, but that also unfortunately taught me some bad habits because I was grazing all the time.
Oh yeah.
So then after I had them, I was still kind of in the mindset of snacking all day long. And I think that was one of the things that kind of led to gaining as well.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We do get in these habits. Like, if I keep snacks in the truck, and I'm doing a lot of driving and I regularly get in the truck and snack, then it's just kind of a habit, right? And I have to go, oh, wait, I don't need to snack. I just keep it in there in case I need something, an emergency or whatever. But it's it's not something I need to do, but it becomes this habit of what we do. So you've got this kind of 10 years of, all the other extreme stuff that kind of kept the weight off. And then kind of where do we go with this story?
My best friend got breast cancer. And that was really, so I joke around, and we had a sense of humor about it, but I joke around that she ate like she was dying, but then she made me eat like she was dying. So she literally would call me at like 9 o'clock at night. I want donuts. Let's go. And so then we'd go get donuts. And then, I want this, I want that. And I was basically one of her major soul support people. Mm-hmm. So that was really, I put on about 30 pounds in the last 6 months or 7 months of her life, between the emotional eating and the eating like she was dying. Chemo was a great diet for her. And like I say, we had a really, we had a really dark sense of humor about it. But, we went a lot of places and ate a lot, and I just didn't care. That wasn't my priority.
Right.
But when she passed away, I was about halfway. I'd gained about 50 pounds from my gastric bypass low. So I'd lost 100, I'd gained about 50 back. And that was right after she passed away is when I started Optavia.
Okay. And that was a network marketing. Was that a health and wellness?
Yes.
Because they're not around anymore, right? Or are they?
Unfortunately, they still are. Yes.
Oh, they are. Oh, that's right. That's a whole. We'll do another podcast on that later. I can remember a few things on that one.
Yes.
So you did Optavia, and that was a health and wellness, or is a health and wellness company, kind of.
It was very low calorie. So I ate between 800 and 1,000 calories a day. You snack on a very, very small little snack every 2.5 hours. Mm-hmm. And I built a multi-million-dollar business around it. Mm-hmm. So here I was, built a multi-million-dollar business around the one thing in my life that I'd never have had control over. And there was a lot of fear for me on that. Uh-huh. But I also, so I lost 40 pounds and I felt great. But then because it's network marketing, my mentor wanted me to lose 20 more so that I looked really good. And I did. So I got 20 lower than I'd ever gotten with my bypass. Ooh. I was a size 2-4.
You looked pretty, like this picture is going to be up on there. Mm-hmm. I think we'll show it at the beginning, but you were pretty skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, in comparison, that was, even from your other pictures, you were pretty skinny. So 20 less than that, that's.
Yeah. So like I said, I was a size like 2 to 4. Mm-hmm. And I liked how I looked, but I couldn't get off the diet, like at all.
Okay.
They have what they call transition, and I would start to transition, and within a week or two, I'd put on 5 pounds. Oh. And so then I would panic, and I would jump back to the diet part of it.
Right.
And this went on for 8 years.
Wow.
Like I told you, I have discipline. I lived on 800 to 1,000 calories for 8 years because I couldn't not.
Right.
And I honestly believed in my head that I was this pillar of health. Oh. It didn't feel unhealthy to me.
Right.
Because I was doing what I needed to stay that size.
Right. Well, and sometimes the size makes us think,
yes,
right, that, I'm healthy because I'm this size. It's not necessarily, am I really healthy, right?
Yes.
So,
in fact, one of the breaking moments for me was I heard a health and wellness person say, if you have to practice unhealthy habits to maintain your current size, it's not your healthy weight. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I started losing my hair. I started having like major deficiencies. I was diagnosed with osteoporosis and, just major problems. And then I ended up in the ER from a sodium deficiency.
Oh, gee.
And that was the point where I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm the pillar of health and wellness. Like, I had signed up 6,000 people for my program. Mm-hmm. Or Optavia's program.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be like this pillar of a health coach.
Right.
And I met with the doctor, and talked with him and told him what I was eating and the problems I was having. And he pulled up a chair and looked me in the eye and said, "You have an eating disorder." And I said, "No, I'm a health coach. I don't have an eating disorder." And that was, the integrity issue there, where I suddenly, this sheet was ripped away and I realized what I was doing to my body. And I was telling other people to do that to their bodies. And so put me in this really hard position where I had to make a decision. I ended up not having to make a decision because when I started questioning my health issues, Optavia terminated me. And they literally ripped away my 6-figure income overnight, our sole source of support. And so the minute I started eating normal food, I started gaining weight. And I was working with a nutritionalist because, like I said, the doctor diagnosed me with an eating disorder. So I was working with a nutritionalist. I was working with my doctor, and I put on 40 pounds in 4 months. And that was eating what they told me to eat. 1,600 calories max. I was eating between 1,400 and 1,600, and I put on 40 pounds.
Yeah, which really isn't very much.
No.
Right? I mean, 1,400, 1,600, that's really not a ton.
That's a diet.
Yeah, that is a diet. That is. Okay.
That's a healthy diet.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they told me I could not try to lose weight for an entire year. They call it reverse dieting. And it's where you have metabolically adapted to, I had metabolically adapted to 800 to 1,000 calories. That was my baseline.
Right.
Anything over 1,000 calories. So that's why when people say that you go into a calorie deficit, they don't understand, because like I was living in a calorie deficit and I wasn't eating.
Right.
Or I wasn't losing weight anymore.
Right.
That was my normal.
Well, that's why you were losing hair.
Yeah.
And that because your body says, okay, we're going to keep every vital thing healthy and strong,
Yep.
but all of the superfluous, not
Yes.
that my hair is superfluous, that's
Right.
not right, but all of that stuff that can go
Yep.
will go, so that we can keep everything that's vital to living
Yep.
going. Yeah.
So I put on 40 pounds, and that was so hard. And when you've gotten used to yourself at a healthy weight and, at feeling good about yourself, that was really rough. So for a year, I just kind of didn't do anything. And then after a year, I talked to my doctor, and he said I could maybe cut back 200, 300 calories, get back into that 1,200 range, but not below that. And of course, that wasn't helping me lose weight.
Right.
I did it and it did nothing.
Right.
So I started looking for every pill, drop, potion. Like if someone said this helped me lose weight, I bought it.
Okay.
It's in my cupboard, everything. And
You didn't
nothing.
do fen-phen, did you? Was that pre?
Oh yeah, I did
you
fen-phen,
okay.
but that was pre-gastric bypass.
Oh, that was, yeah, because I was going to say it's been a number.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
If it's been like around, I have done it.
Okay.
I'm not even kidding you. We did, when I was a teenager, my friend convinced me that rice was the best thing to eat, and we did an all rice diet. I kid you not, for like 3 weeks, I ate nothing but rice. Surprisingly, I lost no weight. Do you remember when Wendy's was trying to convince us that the healthy lunch choice was a baked potato with bacon and cheese on it? I would go to Wendy's and I'm going to get the healthy choice. I'll have the baked potato with the cheese and bacon on it.
How about Jason and Subway? Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh man, yeah. Like it wasn't just me that didn't understand. Like the world,
Yeah.
there's still so much that we don't understand about weight.
Yeah.
And I feel like GLPs are finally starting to open eyes as far as how our bodies work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was crazy. So I tried, gut stuff. I tried natural peptides.
Yeah. What is it, berberine, or there's some out there that is supposed to help you with appetite suppressant and, just all the different things,
Yep.
right?
I tried everything and actually joined a company that was supposed to help. And I just kept, every month I would be up by another 1 or 2 pounds. You know, it was going the wrong way.
Right.
And I actually went to, most of my before pictures are from a leadership retreat with that company. And when they had a professional photographer there and they took all these pictures. And when I saw them, I was horrified because they were using them for promotional. And I was just like, that can't be me.
Yeah. When
did I let that happen? Right. You know? And so that's when I went to my doctor and talked about tirzepatide.
Okay. So that would have been, that's fairly recent then, right? So
yes, it was August of last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, so I've been on tirzepatide since May, so almost a year.
Okay.
That I've been on it. And so I it's newly out. So that's it. So you go to the doctor, you're talking to him. Is it the same doctor that helped you through like staying on the calorie, that kind of thing, trying to get you healthy again? Okay.
Yep.
And so this is a good doctor that will listen. Okay, awesome. So what was that conversation like? And did you hear it from somewhere else and then go to the doctor, or did the doctor say, I have this?
It was the doctor.
Okay.
And honestly, I was in the negative camp. I didn't go to him asking for that. I was just frustrated and what can I do? Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, my daughter got on this. Like, he really didn't. He's like, it seems to work for people. You should try it. Mm-hmm. And I said, my conversation was literally, I don't need an appetite suppressant.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not hungry. My gastric bypass still works pretty well. Mm-hmm. I can eat 1,200 calories and not be hungry. Like, I don't need an appetite suppressant. And that's all I thought it was. Okay. I thought it was another fen-phen.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Okay. And so I didn't get on it. And so this wasn't August. This was probably like June. Mm-hmm. And then I gained another whatever. And that's when I went to the leadership retreat, actually. So I went back to the doctor and I was like, okay, I'll try it. Yeah. He gave me a prescription. I took it to Costco and it was $1,600.
Oh, is that what it cost back then? Holy smokes.
Yep, because my insurance wouldn't cover it. So I was like, never mind. So I did not fill it. And then another month went by and another 1.5 pounds or whatever it was came on. And I was desperate and I started researching and looking around and I found a med spa that was local that I could do it for $550.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I will try it. And I'll probably cry again because this is just such an amazing thing to me. I know that this is not everyone's experience, but I changed nothing. Nothing. I was already tracking what I was eating. I was already exercising. I changed nothing except adding the injection. That was it. It did not decrease my appetite more. I'll touch on the food noise in a minute, but that's the amazing thing. I changed nothing about how I was eating. Mm-hmm. I changed nothing about my exercise and the weight started to melt off. And that is why this is magical. That's what people don't understand. So it wasn't that I was overeating. It wasn't that I was not exercising enough because I could lose weight eating what I was eating and exercising what I was exercising. Once my blood sugars and my GLP and, all of the things that tirzepatide does, once that started to happen, the weight just started to melt off. And it was absolutely amazing. Within 24 hours, the food noise kicked off. And to someone that has never been a food addict, you're not going to understand.
Right.
It's like there was a constant buzz in my head my entire life that I didn't even know wasn't normal. And it turned off. And I was like, I had thoughts.
And it wasn't just about food.
Right? Because, so I'm adopted, okay? And I always thought that my adoptive family would be fat people. Because I was like, my metabolism sucks. Mm-hmm. I actually found my adoptive parents in my early 30s, and I didn't find fat people. I found addicts. I found drug addicts and alcoholics, and my addiction was food. And it is a very, very real addiction. Mm-hmm. But unlike drugs and alcohol, you can't cut it out.
Right.
You can't just, okay, I'm stopping cold turkey.
Done. No more food in my life.
I'm not eating ever again. And so it's constantly there. And it's constantly like, is this a good choice? Is this a good choice? Is this a good choice? Optavia taught us that fruit was evil. Okay. Like you couldn't, I went 8 years without eating fruit. And so it's constantly this chatter in my head about like, is this okay? Is this okay? Is this okay? When should I eat next? Well, I don't know. I already ate that,
Right.
and adding the calories constantly in my head and tracking the carbs and tracking the everything. And it was just gone. It was like somebody turned off the buzzing that had been present my whole life. And I had never experienced anything like that in my life. Still to this day, it's a miracle.
Right.
Like I can just not think about it.
Right.
It's crazy.
It is, and people don't. So I didn't have that. I understand the food noise part only because of it'd be like you eat and then it's like you're thinking, okay, what's my next meal? Like it's that constant on your mind thing. And that changed to, well, I don't really, whatever. When we get to dinner, I'll worry about that. It's not like, or if I see something that I want to eat, it's not this battle in your head, right? About should I eat that? Shouldn't I eat that? Okay, if I eat it, am I going to feel guilty? All of the things that go on with food because it's become this battle in your life. And the nice thing about it is that I just eat and I'm okay. And there's not that battle about food.
Yes.
And that's bondage, right?
Yeah.
That's getting free from something that it's like you don't have any control over it, like it's there and it's been there.
Yeah.
Yours is more intense than mine ever was, I am certain.
Oh yeah.
And
and it's like, I told my husband, I see a commercial of like a sugar cookie. And until I get the sugar cookie, whether it's 3 hours or 3 days or 3 weeks, once I have that craving, it never went away until I ate it. Oh. And I don't think people can understand unless you are actually a drug addict or an alcoholic or something like that. Because it's ridiculous. Like I would see it and I'd be like, no, I don't need that. And then later that day, are you sure you don't need that?
Yeah,
and then you'd wake up the next morning and you're like, ooh, that sugar cookie would have been good for breakfast. I mean, it never went away until I gave into it.
Right.
And that's completely gone.
Yeah.
I have never been able to like eat half a cookie in my life. And now I can, get a cookie, take a couple bites. I'm like, you can have the rest.
Yeah.
And that's just insane to me.
Right. For sure. That's for sure. So it's interesting you talk about, being against tirzepatide or the GLPs and that, because what changed my mind is there's a doctor, we're in a health and wellness company as well. And about 2 years ago, his attitude was kind of on the negative side of it as well. But my husband and I were in Cancun last April, and he's a holistic chiropractor and stuff, and he had flip-flopped completely. He said, these things are going to change. Everybody should be on a GLP-1 because of this and this and this and this and this and this. And I came back and went right to my doctor. Yeah. Because I trusted this person, right?
Yep.
And I thought, if they could flip like that, I need to look at this. And it's not because, for me personally, I had a goiter that had to be removed, which interfered with my thyroid. Basically, my thyroid doesn't work, and so I've got to be on thyroid medicine. Well, you know what that does, right? The weight comes on, right? So, for me, it's a little different than it is for you, and that's why I want to have this conversation, mostly because I want other people to free themselves.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you do a lot of social media stuff, which I think is awesome. Some of it's absolutely hilarious, and some of it's very touching, right? On that. And so as you have taken this journey, so when did you start tirzepatide?
August.
August of last just of last year. So August, and we're in almost May now. So, and how much have you lost?
I've lost 40.
40.
So it hasn't been rocket speed.
No.
But like I said, I am a lot smaller in size now
Okay.
than last time I was this weight.
Okay.
So I look like I've lost 60. I'm back to the pants that I was wearing before I gained 60 pounds.
Gotcha.
But I've only lost 40. And so that's been another like mind-blowing thing to me is like, how does that even work?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Right.
I don't even understand some of it.
Right.
But I just and that took me down the whole once this was just this magic pixie fairy dust for me. I mean, it really was. It was just not life changing, life saving.
Yeah.
That's when I really dove into other peptides and like, well, if this can do this, what else is there?
Right. Right.
But it's just been transformative. And I am so grateful that this next generation isn't going to have to make the choices and the bad decisions I made because I will live with those decisions with the gastric bypass for the rest of my life.
Right.
You know, like I said, I was diagnosed with osteoporosis. I've been able to reverse that to some extent with, you know, doing different things. And I've been able to, I take so many pills a day with the vitamins and but they didn't even know half of that stuff.
Right.
When I finished my 1 year after my bypass, the doctor was like, okay, you can just follow up with your normal doctor. This is a list of blood work you should do every year. Well, when I started having those deficiencies, I called and they're like, we haven't seen you in like 20 years. I'm like, I know. And they're like, you're supposed to come in here every year. And I'm like, no, you released me to, about 15 years ago, we started telling people that they needed to come. And I'm like, you know, when your car's recalled, they send you a postcard. Like, if my surgery's been recalled, shouldn't you let me know?
I've been on recall. Come on.
Right. No one reached out to me.
Right.
And like I said, no one can tell me because I joined another company that was about the microbiome and just I extensively learned about how important that is and how it's Alzheimer's and how it's this and how it's that. And nobody can tell me. In fact, if anyone watching this knows anything about your gut biome after gastric bypass, the doctors don't even know.
Oh.
I get dehydrated and drinking 100 ounces a day.
Oh, wow.
So when I ended up in the ER, it was because my sodium deficiency but I don't absorb salt. And that's got to be gastric bypass. What else could it be?
Well, and the way they did it, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's that particular, that would be interesting because, you know, like the other ones, they're completely different, but yours like completely altered that track in your body. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very interesting. Well, that can be scary for sure, but oh my goodness. Well, good. So tirzepatide, and let's talk a little bit about tirzepatide in itself, because obviously we see, you and I understand the good side of it. We hear the bad, you know, people talk about that. Did you have any of the negative side effects that people are talking about in regards to it?
So probably the only negative side effect I had was some loose bowels the first couple of ups of the medication. And I'm talking like one time when I would up it, you know, like the next morning you'd be a little bit.
Right.
But what I have learned about the side effects is the majority, probably like, I don't want to say a percent, but like high 90 percentile. The majority of side effects are from two different reasons, and they're both controllable. One of them is dosing, especially if you are going the Zepbound or the
Monjero or whatever.
Yeah, the name brand route. Okay. Those are pens. And so you can't dose slower.
Oh.
You have to jump from one to the other because they only come in already filled pens.
Okay, so you're not, like for me and probably for you, we actually dose our own. We pull it in and into the syringe and do it ourselves.
And so the side effects come from dosing incorrectly. And a lot of doctors don't understand microdosing. That is a newer thing. A lot of people need to microdose or go up a lot slower. Like instead of going from 5 to 7.5, you go from 5 to 6, stay there for a little while, you know. So if people dose slowly and work with a physician that understands, then that cuts out most side effects. And then the other side effects that you hear about, like hair loss, muscle loss, bone loss, things like that people throw out are not eating right. Oh. And that's true with anything. True. I experienced that with other diets. Right. I lost a lot. I lost probably like 60% of my hair with gastric bypass. And that was just par for course. Like you went in knowing that you were going to lose the majority of your hair because my doctor called it controlled starvation.
Well, that's probably a pretty accurate statement. Yeah. I think you've probably done that in a number of diets over the years, to be honest, in the way you've described how you've done different diets. So microdosing, kind of give us an explanation of the microdose.
So microdosing is becoming a huge thing. And it's basically you want the advantages of the GLP, but you don't need to lose weight.
Okay.
And so tons of people that have no weight to lose whatsoever are getting on GLPs for the longevity effects. For I mentioned PCOS. I watched this amazing doctor. She's a gynecologist, and she says that she's putting people on it for PCOS and endometriosis because they're finding that both of those things you're lacking in the GLP and the GIP. And it actually can practically like cure if you have those things in your body. So like I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I don't think that they'll prescribe it yet, but I wish they would because she has endometriosis really bad. And, you know, getting on the birth control has made it worse. We took her off of that. Yeah. There's not really anything. And here's this amazing drug. And it's not even a drug. It's a peptide.
Yeah, it's a peptide.
You know? So that's the main thing with microdosing is people are able to be on it long term without.
Are they
needing
just
to
doing
lose
a
weight.
less dose? Is that what it is? So microdose is just, you know, it's just a lower volume.
It's like less than 2.5 milligrams.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And people are just they're losing their inflammation. They're losing pain, like chronic pain. They're oncologists are actually prescribing GLPs now to reduce the risk of your cancers coming back, especially like breast cancer that is estrogen related because fat contains estrogen, and keeping, you know, your blood sugar stable can actually reduce the risk of the cancers coming back. So there are just amazing benefits coming out about it that have nothing to do with weight loss.
Yeah. Yeah, they are seeing a lot of that in the research and different things coming out, and it is amazing what they're doing with other peptides. And we'll probably do another podcast and talk about other peptides because we've got plenty of other ones to talk about. But the thing about that I have seen, and I'm sure you have seen, which just amazes me, people that just jump on others. You know? Because here's the thing, you know, if you've never dealt with food noise and if you've never dealt with a food addiction, you don't really know what somebody has been going through.
Yeah.
And so, you know, to jump on someone who's doing the best they can to try stay healthy and has found something that works is just, it's a bad look on human nature.
No, it is. It cracks me up like the easy way out. Well, of course we want an easier way. Do we still mow our lawns with like a handheld? Like, no, if there's an easier device, of course we want it. So first of all, if it's the easier way, sign me up for the easier way.
Right.
Because white knuckling it my entire existence, don't want to do that if I don't have to.
Yeah. Well, and you've done some very extreme things.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why I think in this sense of this kind of case study that we're kind of doing is to help people understand that, you know, there are some very extremes, not to judge one another either, but to also listen and understand that people who are in these situations, the weight, because, you know, that's always a stigma, right?
Yeah.
And these kids that, you know, going through puberty or whatever, some of the things that occur and the drastic things that women do, I'm sure men do, but women probably more so than men, in order to have that figure or, to feel good about themselves. And if a little shot once a week can help that and it doesn't hurt, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why,
Well, it's like judging you for being on thyroid medication, in my opinion. Yeah. Well, why don't you just not worry about gaining weight and losing your hair? Get over it.
Yeah.
That's just your life now. Deal with it.
Just deal with it. That's right. Just deal with it.
Yeah. To me, it's the same energy as the women that judge others for not breastfeeding or for not having a vaginal birth, or, it's like, they just don't understand.
Yeah, I know, because when I started having children was, then, so my oldest is, what has been, 38. He'll be 38. He'll be 38 this year. But that was kind of when birthing rooms were starting and all that, the whole thing about having natural birth. And I got to the point where it's like, if you're having a baby, that's pretty natural.
Yeah.
I don't really care which way that happens. If you have an epidural, you don't have an epidural. You have medicine, you don't have medicine, that's really okay. It's still a baby. You're still giving birth. Like,
yeah.
you're still,
100%.
and so it's that way. And you know what? And this is interesting too, because my aunt, who is a nurse, I remember her telling me, Dana, God gave us modern medicine for a reason. Use it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, and I think that's, it kind of comes back to the human nature of judging each other. But I want to say, hooray.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, I see your posts and I see different things. I know what it's done for me and I've seen what it can do for other people. And I just want to shout, hooray, guys, there's something out there. If you've been struggling like this, there's something out there that can help you with it. So,
and I think understanding what a peptide is and how it works. So, I mean, just in really layman terms for people that don't understand it, the best way that I've ever heard it described is our body is full of locks and they're signals. And let's go with collagen because that's a really well talked about peptide. Mm-hmm. And our body stops making like 80% less collagen by the time we're 40. Like it starts to decrease at 30. And, collagen is the reason we get wrinkles. It's the reason our hair thins. It's the reason our nails are brittle. But it's also the reason that you need a hip transplant or a knee transplant because it's collagen between. That's what the cartilage is. Mm-hmm. You need the collagen to keep it. So if you've ever heard the term bone on bone, that means that you have no collagen between your bones. Mm-hmm. So we've recognized that this is an important thing, right? And you can take artificial collagen and it'll absorb 10 to 20%, but it's artificial and the body doesn't recognize it. Well, there's a peptide called GHKCU. And what that is it's the key to the collagen lock. And so it goes in and it finds where your body's signal to create collagen is, and it turns the volume up. So it's not collagen. It tells your body, make collagen like you were 20. Ah. And so that's what a peptide does, is it turns on the signals that need to be on, and it turns off the signals that need to be turned off. And so we're not artificially, the GLP shot does not contain GLP. It contains the coding for your body to make it because it no longer, well, actually GLP, natural GLP, and this is a little shocker for all those people. Did you know your body makes GLP? You don't need the shots. When your body makes GLP, it lasts about 90 seconds. When you are able to use the GLP tirzepatide, it turns that on. It lasts for about 7 days.
Oh, wow.
So that's the difference, is we can turn that on and have the advantages of it all the time instead of just those 90-minute bursts that your body, 90-second bursts that your body gives throughout the day. And when it does that, it regulates your blood sugar and, does all these amazing things, which who knows, maybe back in, the 1700s, our body made GLP all the time and we've turned that off through all of the toxins and, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation for sure.
But, there's a reason that we need these things and being able to turn those signals back on. So you're not actually putting collagen in the body. You're not putting GLP in the body. You're just teaching your body to make it again.
Yeah, very interesting, which is probably why, the side effects are minimal. Like, I mean, if you ever hear any of the prescription drugs, or they advertise and all of the side effects. I'm like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
If that's the cure and that's all of the results of it, I'm out. I don't need all of that. So
well, and even the lawsuits, the things that they're talking about, those are actually diabetic side effects. And so people are blaming diabetic side effects on this because diabetics are taking it. Mm-hmm. And so we live in a litigious society. And, if you can blame it on something, you're going to. But a healthy person starting on these for other reasons is never going to have those kind of reactions.
Right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, all of this with us. What I'd like to talk a little bit about now is the people you've been helping, because I do believe that in what you've been doing and bringing some of this to light and talking about your journey, that there's people that you've actually helped along the way in this little journey. So let's, if you don't mind sharing some of those wonderful success stories from the people you've been helping.
Yes. So probably my number one that I'm thrilled with is my parents. My mom has been able to lose like 55 pounds since January.
Oh, wow.
So she's crushed right past me. I'm kind of irritated at her because I'm like, dang, like I've only lost 40 and she's lost 50 in less time. But to see her have the energy again and shop the cute clothes, and they're actually, my parents are right now at a boutique shopping, and that's not something that they would have done 7-8 months ago. Because, the pain has been just so incredibly lessened for her. I have a lot of people that I worked with my former company that had the same issues as me because they lived the same lifestyle.
Right.
And their metabolism was completely shot. And this, I feel like, has fixed the metabolism. That's what it's doing, is it's going in there and it's fixing what we've broke.
Right.
And, I will fully own up to the fact that my broken metabolism is my problem from doing all of that, but I broke it because I had a problem in the first place.
Right.
And so to be able to have a tool that helps is amazing. I have a good friend that just started, and she had breast cancer. It's probably been 12, 13 years ago. So it was a long time ago, but she's very careful with her health. And she reached out to me and she's like, I have been so against peptides for so long, but I have put on 50 pounds and my doctor says I need to lose it. And she was with my former company, and she's like, but I don't want to do these drugs because I have cancer. I don't want to be putting this stuff in my body. And I said, let me send you this video. And my mentor and like 5 other people that work with the company that I promote for the peptides have all had breast cancer in the past, like years and years. And so they did like a cancer Q&A. And I sent it to her, and she called me and she was crying, and she's like, I have been so against these for 2 years. I had no idea what it even was. And she signed up that day, and she actually lost like 7 pounds the first week, which is crazy. Like that does not normally happen.
Right.
And so that tells me how much inflammation she had in her body.
She probably had a lot.
Which it's amazing that we can cut down on that inflammation, because you're never going to lose 7 pounds of fat, but a lot of us can easily carry 7 pounds of inflammation.
Yeah.
And so to just be able to kind of like help people see that it's not an appetite suppressant, we're not getting on Dexatrim or like anything crazy.
Oh, I haven't heard that term in a long time.
I know.
Dexatrim, I remember that.
Yes, we were all taking meth together.
I don't think I ever took it, but I remember the pill.
Oh dear, so many things that have been, and I've taken it all, by the way. That was in my like teenage years where I'd sneak it and you had to have an ID anyway. Yeah. But I've been able to educate the people on what a peptide is. It's a short chain amino acids. Like these are literally proteins, and we're not doing anything crazy in our body. We're just helping it work better. And so to be able to help these people that have struggled like I have is just amazing. I have another girl that she reached out to me forever, and probably like 2 months of back and forth, and she finally jumped in. And then while she was waiting for her stuff to come, she's like, well, what kind of diet do I need to set up? What kind of, and I literally just said to her, this is going to teach you to listen to your body. And she didn't believe me. And after like the first 2 weeks, she called me like crying, and she's like, I'm not thinking about food all the time. Yeah. And she's 300 plus. Oof. And so she has had a massive struggle.
Yes.
And she's like, I feel like for the first time in my life, this could be an answer, so to be able to help people like that. And like I said, I mean, I don't want anyone to ever have to have the surgery I had. Yeah. I don't want them to have to do those things. And to be able to be the answer to that is such a blessing.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I understand some of the journey, like I said, because I've been on tirzepatide. It's kind of funny because you think, I'm giving myself a shot, but it's actually not a big deal, right?
No, it's not at all.
No, it's like such a tiny needle. It's like, no big deal. So,
yep.
So let's just do a couple of things here. I want you to talk about, and obviously the physical part of you has changed, but what has changed about you on this journey?
Well, like I said, there's so much more space in my head, for one. Like, it's just so nice to not have to focus on food. People talk about how you lose the dopamine hit with eating, and some people are negative with that and some are positive. And for me, I love that. I love that food is not my source of joy.
Right.
I'm totally fine with not getting a dopamine hit from a cookie, because that shouldn't be where I find my joy anyway.
That's the addictive trigger, right? That dopamine is an addictive trigger. They were talking about that in social media, some stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's actually, again, another thing that is being researched for is addiction, to help drug addicts and to help out alcoholics, because it does cut those reward centers down, and I think that the biggest thing is it's not a personal, I'm succeeding or failing. It was always, I'm not doing good enough. I don't want to keep hashing back to the old company, but I'm going to for a second, because that was either you're obeying the rules and you can keep your weight, or they would call us out of integrity when we weren't at our goal weight, because we were preaching, but we weren't doing it, and there was this huge stigma to, oh my gosh, I put on 10 pounds. I can't go to that event because everyone's going to judge me because I haven't been practicing what I've been preaching. Mm-hmm. And it was like every bite was a moral decision. And I feel like that's completely gone. Yeah. Like the company that I'm with now, I mean, our main seller is tirzepatide, right, but it's not a weight loss company.
Right.
And no one judges, like, it's just, you're fixing your body, and your body stops losing weight when it stops losing weight. And like, you're just getting healthy, and there's not guilt and shame attached to it.
Right.
So one of my hashtag that I've been using on social media is biology over blame. And I feel like that is where we are, is we're finally learning that this is our biology. Some people are blessed with an amazing metabolism. Good for you. Just like some people can have babies without any problem. I couldn't get pregnant. I couldn't deliver vaginally. I had a hard time breastfeeding. Like, some people can just do things easily and others can't.
Right.
And we need to understand that weight is one of those things. Mm-hmm. And so to not have a stigma attached to, you look that way because you're not disciplined enough.
Right.
Has just been so freeing for me. Yeah. And not having the guilt about it. Like, I don't feel guilty if I have a cookie now.
It's so freeing, isn't it?
It is.
It's almost like you almost can't explain it unless you've lived it, but it is just this amazing, okay. Yeah. I can eat that, I'm not going to finish that because I'm
and
fine.
Both ways. Like, you can go without and be okay, but you can also eat it and not feel guilty.
Yeah,
it's like the craziest, like, my entire self, like, what's right and what's wrong has changed.
Right.
Because I had so many bad foods, and now it's just like, there's not bad foods. There's just food. Yeah. and you can eat it or you can not eat it. And
I'll eat a candy bar every once in a while, and I'm okay with that, right? Like it's really a different thing. So, so at this point in your journey, so this is kind of my last question that we'll have here. If you could look back and give any advice to yourself at the beginning of your journey, what would you tell yourself?
That's a hard one, because what I feel is most sad is there wasn't an answer. I would love to go back into my, 14, 15-year-old self and be like, hey, here's a GLP. It'll change your life. But there wasn't that answer.
Right.
And so I guess just, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you're going to have to struggle. It's not your fault that, you work your butt off to lose 60 pounds and it's going to come back on. It's not your fault that you eat one piece of pizza and the scale is up 3 pounds. I went on a cruise in my Optavia days. I went on a cruise and in 7 days, I gained 22 pounds. Okay. A healthy body cannot do that.
No. Mm-mm.
That tells me that my body was screwed. Like, I challenge someone that is a normal, healthy weight that doesn't struggle with weight to gain 22 pounds in 7 days. They can't do it, but I did. And about 10 of it came off, but 12 of it didn't. And I had to struggle for like 6 months to lose those 12 pounds. So it wasn't just all water weight. My body was broken. And the guilt of gaining 22 pounds in 7 days. And I didn't pig out. This was after my bypass. I still can't eat massive amounts of sugar, can't eat massive amounts of anything. Yet I was able to put on 22 pounds in 7 days. And so I think I would just go back and just be like, take emotion out of it. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. Try your best, and someday there'll be an answer.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Anybody who's struggled with weight, which, a lot of us have over the years, this, I'm sure, will hit home, and hopefully it answers some questions for them too in regards to tirzepatide. And that I was against it too, like you. I was totally like, no, that's ridiculous. And I have learned that it's a big help and it's very freeing. Yes. And so, but once again, check with your doctor to get that help. Thank you so much, Cami.
You're welcome.